Lovely to meet you here, Nandana, in the UK.
Likewise.
And I think that there is a lot that you have to share with your wisdom. I know, but I think a lot of people will benefit from knowing what brought you to Vedanta.
So mine is a long story, long search, which started when I was very young. I think, even in my teens, I always used to have questions of existence, existential questions, which none of my friends seemed to have. Growing up in this country, they were all quite happy doing, everything available, doing the things that normal kids do. Whereas I used to hang around in cemeteries and look at a bit morbid, but morbid kid, yes. But always wondering, look at the gravestones and just wonder, where did these people go? What happened to them? Suddenly, like, you said in your talk, that dash is all the life is. Just the dash between date of birth and date of death. So, I mean, growing up thinking about all this, of course it got dull and dull with the pursuit of education and vocation and all that. But when I was, I think about 18, my parents decided to take me on a yatra, the temples of the south. And something happened to me there during my 18th year. I had something very life transformational, and I really felt that the only thing in life was the spiritual pursuit. So I came back from that trip in India totally transformed, that I had no interest in the world anymore, and I really wanted to understand the meaning of life and find a teacher. We come from a background of Satya Sai background, so parents were always involving us in seva activities and service and all of that. So we grew up with some kind of spiritual life as we were in this country, but I wanted to know more. So I went to India again after completing my bachelor's, and I went to, of course, Satya Sai was the rock of the family for us from my grandmother's times, and I thought he would give me the answers, and I went there, and I ended up spending 12 years in the ashram there without coming back. So it was, quite a big length of my chunk of my life spent in just contemplation, learning what I could from whatever teachings that were available to me in that area at that time. But I never laid my hands on anything to do with Vedanta at that time. There were some, in his discourses he would talk about the Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, and he'd bring them in, but the main focus was always on bhakti and seva. So I did follow that lifestyle for some years there in the ashram, but something after those 12 years I realized that this is not giving me what I really want, that there's some limitation to this also, so at that time when I was having such thoughts, he knew, and he said, time to go back. So I went back to England.
That must have been a very difficult decision, because it was not really your decision. It was Swami's decision.
It was Swami's decision, and also for us he was an altar for Bhagavan. So yes. As for devotees he becomes an altar. So even my parents were sent to England by Swami as well. My father was told to go to England because it's good for him, because he wanted to serve Swami. But we always believed in him and whatever he said. So when he gave instructions like that, I felt I had so much Shraddha in him that I felt he's doing this for my best. And I didn't question. I just packed up my bags after 12 years and, moved back. But it was the biggest shock of my life coming back, because I hadn't left the ashram or left his physical presence for 12 years. And then suddenly, it was like being in a different planet for me. So I couldn't actually, come out of the house for about 2-3 months. It was that much of a shock. I was living in a different, bhajans and seva and totally immersed in thoughts of God. And suddenly coming out into the world, and the reality hit me with a bang. Let's say it that much. I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
So my parents decided to send me on some course. They're both psychiatrists, so they said, "Oh, you're thinking maybe you go to London, go on this NLP course, neuro-linguistic programming course." So they paid big amount, megabucks for that course, and I went there, and it was a 7-day course, and it was a very Western approach to the mind, using the mental power, the mental strength to create situations and circumstances that conducive to your happiness, which is usually a big house, a lot of money, all of that, with good relationships, all of that which is what people find fulfillment in, or they think they find their fulfillment in. So there was something I was thinking, this is probably not for me, because I come from a different background. But the reason I was sent to London was not the NLP course. It was because as I was traveling in the underground, I came across a poster, a very small one, going up the escalator, of talks of Swami Dayananda. I was once Saraswati, 3 days in London. He was there in Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, and London is huge, and I wanted to attend. I just wanted to see who the Swami was. As per custom, we usually go and pay respects to Swamis. So I never heard of Swami Dayananda when I was in India. So I said, I want to just go and see the Swami and just pay my respects. And I was wondering, the course ended at 6:30, and London is very big, very difficult to travel from one end to another. So I didn't know where the location was, but it just happened to be next door to where my course was taking place. If you can call it happening. Just amazing. This is what you call being at the right place at the right time. And it just happened to begin Swamiji's talk half an hour after my course ended. So I just had to walk 5 minutes next door, and that first talk that I heard of Swamiji's changed my whole life. Again, a very life transformational experience for me in that talk itself. And I said, this is exactly what I have been looking for in my life. When I left Puttaparthi, when I left Satya Sai's presence, I had asked inside for something that would make me happy at all times, at all places, with all people. That was my wish. I said, that is all I want, happiness. And the first words that came out of Swami Dayananda Saraswati's mouth were exactly that. Do you not want to be happy at all times with all people, in all places? So it was just like an answer to my deep yearning, my seeking. And he started talking about Vedanta, what it is, what the human pursuit is, what the goal of life is really. And for the first time, moksha became clear to me.
Right.
Because all these years I've been thinking, just repeating parrot phrases like liberation from the cycle of birth and death, and escape from samsara, all of this that we read. But for the first time I understood that, what freedom really means, and that was in that first talk. So from then there was no turning back for me, and I just picked up Swamiji's books. I started studying with Swamini Brahmaprajnananda, and she informed me of a course that was taking place in Anikatti, which just happened to be like a year or 1.5 years after I came back to England. And I expressed to my parents the desire that to go back.
Run away again.
Yeah. And although it was difficult for them, after 12 years of me being away from them, my mother saw my deep yearning for the knowledge, and she said, with my blessings, with our blessings, you go and study. So that is how I came to Vedanta.
Wow. And it was a very big decision to do a full-time course. Did you have any idea of what it involved and what you were getting into?
Absolutely no idea. I had not, I didn't even know what a Gurukulam really was. I knew ashrams. Of course, I lived in Puttaparthi, but that is like, you can say, a 5-star ashram. Everything is there. All the. I didn't know what really what Shastra entailed. I didn't know what Sanskrit was. I'd heard of Sanskrit, but I had no idea of Devanagari script, nothing. And all I knew was this is what is going to give me what I want. That moksha, the moksha that Swamiji has explained to me is what I want. And he revealed that the Shastra is the means of knowledge to achieve that goal. So whatever effort was needed on my part to discover that, I was willing to put in. And whatever, how do you say, whatever hardships we had to bear in the Gurukulam, which I didn't feel were hardships anyway. Towards the end, you just get used to, all of that. I was really happy to put in, because I think the goal will far outweighed the way to get there. So
yeah. We've all had many precious moments with Pujya Swamiji. Anything that comes to mind that you would like to share?
Oh, there's so many memories with Pujya Swamiji. I think the first memory is the first time I met him in the Gurukulam. I hadn't had the chance to speak to him in London during that talk, after that talk. Although he saw me, I was sitting in front of him, and he saw the tears running down my face, and he must have thought, what's going on, But he didn't realize that he was just answering all the questions I had in my life in that one talk. And I never had a chance to meet him physically. But I remember him looking at me in London and then just blessing and saying, just saying, Nalla in Tamil, be well. And I ended up, the next time I saw Swamiji was the first day of the course, or when I came to the Gurukulam. And I just ended up there, and I was outside the canteen, and he was in his buggy, and he saw me and he called me over, and I can never forget that. And I was thinking, how he doesn't even know me, And he called me over and he held my hand. He said, "Eppo vande? When did you come?" And
like as if he's known you for a long, long time.
I was in shock, really. I thought, he just saw me on stage once. No words exchanged between us, but there was an exchange of something. It was, great thankfulness on my part. But that welcome, the first day of welcome, I felt, my God, I've come home, So that kind of gave me the impetus. I said, well, I'm at the right place now, I don't miss anything, Swamiji's here. Nothing to... So that was really touching, first time.
Right. And now here in the UK, what are the kind of things that you're involved with?
I'm actually working and teaching. So I work at a centre in Oxford, which is affiliated to Oxford University, and it's called the Oxford Centre for Hindu Studies, where academic study of Hinduism is taken up. It's a very wonderful place to be, because for me, I have access to all the literature, books, I can also do my own research at the same time. So that is during the week I'm there, and weekends I've started a couple of classes, which I do through a VHP school. And they have like the Christians have Sunday school, they have a Saturday school for children, where the children learn all about Hindu culture. They actually take exams in Hinduism, so GCSEs in Hinduism, A-level. They do, in their own mother tongue, Gujarati GCSE, Hindi GCSE. So all the Indian languages, whatever their mother tongue is, the parents encourage them to learn, even music they teach there. So anything connected with India and its culture, these kids who are born and brought up in this country learn. It's a very wonderful school. So in that school, I teach some little kids Sanskrit.
What a joy.
It's really
because
joy.
They pick up so quickly.
They're so smart, and I'll show you in conversation that Sambhashanam class. They're just amazing, and I teach also a few teens, like older kids as well. So I take a couple of Sanskrit classes, and then I have for the parents of these young kids. They were interested in Vedanta, so a few of them come to me and I teach them, I've started Vedanta, introduction to Vedanta classes, but base it more on values because they're grihasthas. So, hardcore Vedanta, we don't want to start off with immediately.
Sure. What do you think will help someone who's seeking? I know it's a very broad question, but anybody who's seeking and doesn't quite know what to do and where to go and how to go, what do you think will help?
Well, I think that actually these days, and Swamiji, I've read somewhere as well, he said that in the old days, the students used to come to the Gurukulams, to the teachers to study. These days, people are not even aware there is something like Vedanta and that there are teachers available in the world to teach and help. So I think that it is a duty of, people like you and I to reach out to people now. And I think that's the need of the day, order of the day, that they should, even if they don't come, they should be exposed to what Vedanta has to offer. Because if Swamiji had not come to the West, I would not have gone to the East back to study. It was his 3 days in England that changed my whole life. And how many life-changing experiences people may have if they just get to be exposed to Vedanta, even for one, that was one talk. So I really feel for seekers, we have to help the teachers in the Ashavidya Parampara. And attending festivals like this, even though the focus is on yoga, people don't know. So even if Swamiji used to say, even if it touches one person in the audience, his goal is achieved, right? So I think it's our duty to go and, like I'm also teaching at a yoga center in my local town, and they hadn't even heard of something called non-dualism. They had no idea. They were doing yoga asanas alone without any philosophy. They'd heard something roughly about Patanjali Yoga Sutras or something, so I started a bit because Patanjali Yoga Sutras are very good for adhikaritvam. So I started there, but slowly I started introducing Vedanta, and I saw that no human being can deny what they hear of Vedanta, because it is the fundamental human problem that it solves, right? So whether you come from England or India or Timbuktu, it's the same issue everybody has. So I think seekers should be able to have access to teachers.
Yeah, well said. Anything else that comes to mind that might benefit people?
I think that if there was a center in England, there's always good to have a base. So in future, if because we have one in the North, North America. We have enough in Brazil as well. South America has a base. India, of course, has many bases. We don't need to worry. But Europe, as such, doesn't really have a base where people can come and study Vedanta long term. And I think, I think it will benefit because there are a lot of problems Europeans are facing. Islamization is happening, and also immigration issues, Brexit here, and I see a lot of concerns, the European Union is also kind of falling apart. A lot of people are, whatever the securities they had their mind placed in certain securities, all that slowly being taken away from them. So they are seeking more now to look for solution to, their issues. And I think Vedanta will appeal a lot to Europeans. So in future, maybe our parampara should set up.
Yeah, there is a let's say a school of thought, not a darshana, a school of thought, which says that you can only have one guru. And in your life, you've had Satya Sai as a Bhagwan, as guru, and you've also had Pujya Swamiji, and you've studied from other teachers as well. Was that ever a conflict for you, or was it just seen as, this is my life's journey and I welcome and receive?
Well, I think, the Satya Sai, actually, in fact, he told me to study with Swami Dayananda. So I think it's a progress, because he's come for a certain purpose. He showed me Bhagavan Asti. He showed me that God is. Living with him, I mean, first of all, coming from the Western background, where only you are, the whole world revolves around you. I mean, and then to suddenly like open your eyes and see that there's a higher power, there's a higher intelligence, there's this all knowledge Ishvara that is there. Satya Sai really opened my eyes to the all knowledge Ishvara and gave me a lot of shraddha in that. But he was not a teacher, so he could not communicate the vision. And so I would have to go to a teacher, and he sent me to the best teacher, which was Swami Dayananda Saraswati. So I felt it was, there were more than any conflict. It was just like a logical progression. And when you come to Swamiji, I can read anyone, and I assimilate it with the teaching that Swamiji has given, because nothing can shake the knowledge that Vedanta revealed by Swamiji has given us. Nothing can shake it anymore.
Right.
So, we can go anywhere. Like next week I'm invited to Satya Sai to speak on Guru Purnima, but I don't mind going, because knowledge is knowledge, Whichever organization we are asked to go to, we're fine with it.
Right.
So I don't feel, that there's any conflict with any gurus or anything.
Thank you for clarifying, because I know that there are a lot of people out there who struggle with this issue, who think that they are being disloyal to a guru by going to someone else, etc.
I had that when I first left the Satya Sai, fold. But wherever one makes you feel that you are special, like Swami Dayananda always used to tell us, right? Wherever you're made to feel somebody special because you believe in a certain person, you should avoid those places, because it has a tendency to become some cult. Because, I remember Swamiji, another thing Swamiji told me when I was talking to him once. He said, he told me, actually, go everywhere. Go to all ashrams, Amma. Go and study with, or, be with other gurus, be with everybody. But he said, 100% you will come back to me. He said, 100% you'll come back to me, because you cannot better my teaching. And that is exactly what I discovered. Because I think, I've read all the books available in the spiritual market, everything I've read. But for me, Swami Dayananda makes the most sense. His logic, his way of, exposition of the verses of, the Gita and the mantras of the Upanishad are impeccable. I don't think you can better that.
Yeah.
So.
And you've also contributed a great deal to the publication division. Is there anything you want to share about that aspect of your work, and any particular insights that you gathered from doing the bit on editing?
I think the main thing during my tenure as editor is probably the app. The app was, a big thing for people all over the world. And I realized its value only when I came out of India, because I use it so much for my quick reference. When I don't have a book handy, it's always there.
So let me interrupt. Tell us about this app.
Yeah, it's called The Teachings of Swami Dayananda. It's available as a free download on App Store and Google Play. Books are very minimal charge, and all, so many audios of Swamiji's edited and also mastered, digitally remastered audio are, on the app. So you can you carry Swamiji on your phone with you when you're traveling anywhere in the world. He's always there. You want to listen to Swamiji. So the app is actually it's like a godsend for people who are, in India, but also mainly for people who are away from Satsanga, who don't have access to, Gurukulam or a Swami or a Swamini or a teacher of Vedanta immediately. They can actually spend time doing Shravanam through the app and actually studying through the app as well, with of course, under the guidance of a teacher. I think that is one aspect of the editing work I did, and the books as well. We've released Taittiriya Upanishad, which was a big major thing in the works for many years because it takes a lot. Somebody had to transcribe. I think it took 2 years to transcribe the whole of the talks of Swamiji, and then again to put it on, put it in written form, and then top of that editing. So that was a big major work for many people involved in that. And of course, mainly Sakshat Nanda Saraswati Swami, he did a lot in that. So, yeah, editing work taught me a lot about focus. It was not easy because you're looking at Shastra in a totally different light. You're looking at commas and full stops and paragraphs and things, and sometimes you miss, what the purport really is. But it was a very time of learning for me, and I loved Chennai. I got my first foray into teaching with a small group that I started, Bhagavad Gita Home Study, with people with whom I'm still in touch. So that was like a kickstart for me, Chennai.
Right. You mentioned Swami Sakshat Vidananda ji, who has been the Acharya of our course. What have you learned from him?
What have I learned from him? So much. I have to say, although it sounds very mundane, but one thing is diet. So, I've started his diet morning, which is pavaka, the bitter gourd and amla juice in the morning. And then he's very strict. I like his discipline. He's disciplined in all areas of his life. Diet is one thing, but even exercise. So it just shows, Vedanta doesn't mean just sitting and, sedentary life, just studying. You have to take care of your stula shariram as well and everything. So he taught me that because he's very strict about, going for walks twice a day, what he eats. He eats very little and he eats very healthily, whatever he eats. And even if it's repetitive, he always told me it's a medicine. Food is medicine. It's not only for taste. So, that's what I've learned from Swamiji.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Nandana.
Thank
we could
you.
go on talking, but we'll leave that for another time.
Thank you so much for giving me the time. It was lovely to express myself.
I enjoyed it. And I'm sure you will as well.
Om.